I'm not having this narrative about Gyokeres and it's not Arteta. I'm not having that. I'm not having that at all.
What we need to do first before we get on to that is go on. Do you still think we should have rested Rice and Saka for Wolves? Because you're talking about the wrong thing. You need to focus on that.
Focus on what?
Do you think we should have still rested Saka and Rice for Wolves?
Yeah, 100%.
So you think we would have won the game if they weren't playing?
Yeah, 100%.
You think we would have won the game if Saka and Rice weren't playing against Wolves the other day?
Yeah, 100%. Let me tell you why. Right? Noni Madueke scored 2 goals in midweek. Good performance. And what's his reward for that? You sit on the bench, sunshine. We won't even bring you on. Hang on. We won't even bring you on when we need a goal and when we need something to happen in the game, right? Now, I'm not saying that Saka had a poor performance because Saka was probably our best player, arguably, right? However, for me, if a player's performing, yeah, you're supposed to give him game time. There's no reason why Noni Madueke couldn't have started that game ahead of Saka. If anything, his performance in midweek probably deserved him to start that game. If Madueke had started that game, I still think we would have won the game anyway. Because the thing that Madueke would have given us that Saka doesn't is he would have drove players, which would have moved that 10 man behind the ball about a little bit more. So yeah, Saka did turn up and Saka did his thing, but I still think if you replace Saka with Noni, based on his performance that he gave in midweek as well, and what he can do and what he offers on that wing, I still think we wouldn't have really seen a massive difference. And I think we made a mistake playing Declan Rice. I personally think the issue that we had, especially in that first half, was Arsenal were camped outside Wolves' box with them playing 10 men behind the ball. We didn't have enough creativity in that midfield. We should have played Odegaard and Eze together. So that's what I would have done. I would have played Odegaard and Eze together in that midfield alongside Zubimendi, and I would have rested Rice, and I would have rested Saka, and I would have given Noni Madueke his chance, which he fully deserved from his performance midweek. That's what I would have done.
I'm going to say this. That last show, you did say drop Saka. Saka was essentially won us the game, whichever way you want to look at it, yeah? Mm-hmm. Now, going to your point about dropping Noni, Martinelli had a good game in that game. He started against Wolves and was absolute dog shit. Yeah. So you can't take away and say, well, he should have started Noni because Noni had a good game. He started Martinelli. Martinelli was shit. So it wasn't a case of it was just one change. It was a case of when are you going to put the responsibilities, not just on the manager, but also on the players?
No, 100%. The players have to hold accountability for the performance. I'm not denying that one little bit. And yeah, you're right. He started Martinelli after his goal during midweek. But we know with Gabriel Martinelli that he has one good performance and then about 10 shit performances. That's just how, Martinelli has worked for the past couple of years at Arsenal. It's a bit different with Madueke because for me, Madueke is a confidence player. And Madueke, after scoring 2 goals and essentially winning us the game against Bruges, because he was the best performing player, in my opinion, if you've got a player performing, then you keep playing him. You keep playing him. Unfortunately, with Arteta, I see he has his favourites, and I'm not saying that he's wrong to play Bukayo Saka week in, week out. I'm not saying that. But what I don't like is the favouritism around some of these players, because essentially that is what is happening right now. Odegaard.
Saka was our star man. That's not a favourite.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Star man. He takes off Saka. He took off Saka against Newcastle when we was losing. He took off Saka against Man City. I don't think it's a case of favourites. I think he trusts who brings the work, who does the work, and we can't deny the players who fans say quote unquote are his favourites just happen to be the ones who are the ones who pull every time for us. I don't think it's a favourites. Favourites would be do you remember the time when he had Willian? And I thought that was a favourite. Like, he was dropping Pepe over Willian. Willian wasn't producing. Willian wasn't producing for us, and he just kept playing him over Pepe.
Okay. Let me ask you this: is Odegaard a favourite?
Odegaard's the captain.
The captain.
He might, but he might well be the captain. But In case I'm missing something,
Okay. Let's
captain
do
of the
this.
football club doesn't have to play every single game. It just seems very ironic to me how Odegaard comes back from injury, yeah, and he slots straight back into the team. To me, it shouldn't work like that. To me, it is Arsenal Football Club, a big football club like Arsenal. If you're a player that is performing and you've done your job in the game, like Madueke did, for example, then you deserve to start the next game. If you then don't perform, then you'll drop for the following game. The problem that we have is we've got some players that are underperforming at the moment or are not quite at the level, yet they continue to play week in, week out. And even when the players come off the bench and do the job, or do the job when we rotate the side, they always end up back on the bench. And I was very, very, not just disappointed to see Madueke not start the game, but the fact that he was an unused sub in that game as well, to me, was a disgrace. It was a disgrace. And I'm not a big Madueke fan. I didn't want Madueke at Arsenal, believe it or not. But I'm just saying that for me, if a player's performing, then you play them.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
But again, a player's performing in one. A player performs in one game, has a good game. This is like you said. This is a big team. This is a big squad. Yeah, you have to be consistent. Madueke hasn't been consistent. You know, he scored against. I think his first goal was against Bayern. Right before that, I know he was injured, but before that, we know his quality going forward. But he's no end product. There's just no end product. I think with Arteta, he knows who he trusts. And I don't think it's a favoritism thing. Now, let's go to Odegaard, yeah? There is something that Odegaard does that I'm yet to see from Eze or anyone who plays that. That is his pressing game. He sets us off at the front foot. We're able to collect the ball up higher and create problems or create opportunities for opportunities. I don't see that from Eze. I just don't. And until Eze starts pushing those metrics that you can see Arteta likes, then possibly he will start making a case for that role. Because right now, I can't say for certain I think Eze is better at what Odegaard does at the team. Yes, he has the quality, he has great qualities. We all know that. That's not denying, and that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying, to be practical with it, in the Arsenal sense, in the Arsenal way. You're no longer at Palace where you're gonna have fucking Will Hughes doing all the running for you and getting the ball to you. You've got to do the running as well. That's how it works. That's how it's been working. You think about the last game we played away to Burnley. Burnley on the counter. Look how many men were chasing back. We're 2-0 up, 94th minute. So there's a change that he needs to adapt to as well, equally. But when I hear this rhetoric of, it just annoys me because it's boring. It's the same old talk. It's Arteta. COVID, Arteta. Flipping World War II, Arteta. Like, I don't understand it. Like, I will listen to logic. I will reason with it. But when we start hearing certain things, it's like, bro, Ruben Amorim, who was Gyokeres' manager, is at Man United. Can't get the best out of what he's got there at Man United, which is better than what Arteta inherited, by the way. He can't get the best out of what he's got there. That's the manager that got Gyokeres most of his goals under his stewardship. So it's easy to point, but what's Amorim doing over there?
I'm not interested in what Amorim's doing. I'm interested in Arsenal. I'm interested in
Amorim, but I'm using Amorim is linked to Gyokeres. So if we're going to say, well, Arteta's he's not using him right. What the fuck is the guy who was using him right doing? What's he doing now?
Yeah, but he hasn't got Gyokeres at Man United.
He's got good players at Man United. He's got a good team at Man United. He's got Cunha. He's got great players at Man United.
Mm-hmm.
One game a week. Can't get the best out of them. Yes, I'm not interested in Man United. I make the point just to make the Gyokeres point. Yes, I don't care. I don't give a fuck what's going on over there. But what I'm saying is essentially the person who was getting him to purr at Sporting can't get nothing done over there. So let's not just point at it's Arteta. Arteta can't get the best of him. What the fuck is Mourinho doing? Jesus comes on 15 minutes against Bruges. Hold on a second. Jesus comes on 15 minutes against Bruges. Has done more than Gyokeres has done.
Yeah. No, but again, this is where, right, you have to accept the logic of why the manager is to blame for this, right? You have to accept this, right? Jesus is not a natural number 9. We knew that when we brought him in from Manchester City, right? He's not a natural striker. He was more of a winger converted to a striker. Havertz is not a natural striker. He's more of a midfielder converted to a striker. Same with Marino, right? And them 3 players, along with Lacazette, previous to this as well, right? Them 3 players like to drop deep. They like to link up play. Their first touch is decent. They can bring others into play. Gyokeres' weakest part of his game is his first touch and his hold-up play. But what Gyokeres will give you is if you get that guy in the right places of the pitch, I'm not talking coming deep on the halfway line like what I see him doing against Wolves, to try and link up, man. I'm talking about getting this guy in the box and giving him the ball in the box, or essentially giving him the ball over the top. I haven't seen Arsenal try and do that once.
That's a lie, bro. That's a flipping lie. That's a big lie.
A lie?
That's a big lie. Think about what you just said for a second. Think about that for a second.
Do me a favor. After this, have you got? I'm assuming you got Twitter.
Ish. I don't use it.
Right. Yeah. Do me a favor. After this, go on Twitter, type in Troops. Yeah, because Troops shared this clip. Big up Troops. There is a clip from the Wolves game where Odegaard receives the ball in the middle of the pitch. Gyokeres makes a run towards the middle, through the middle, towards the right.
Oh, that wasn't against Wolves.
Yeah,
that was in the Champions League, I think.
That was against Wolves at the weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, he makes the run through the middle. He's on the shoulder of the defender. He makes the run through the middle, going towards the right-hand side. The defender follows him. He corrects that run and starts moving towards the left. Odegaard sees the run, does not play that pass, and plays it out wide to Martinelli, who slows the game down.
Okay, and then my rebuttal for that is against Preston, or was it Port Vale we played this season?
Yeah,
Max Dalman.
Fine, man.
You hold on. You just I can. There's more than once. Max Dalman puts him in through one goal.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck does he do then?
Yeah, but again,
there's many examples. That's just one. That's just one. There's many examples. There's many examples. So answer that one then. Why didn't he back that against Port Vale, Championship side, or wherever the fuck they are? Why did he back that?
Let me give you a stat. Right?
Okay.
Let me give you a stat, because I didn't even know this. This was a stat that somebody else had given me, right, from the other day. So apparently, in terms of XG or created XG, right? For Gyokeres at Arsenal, we have created 4.5 XG, expected goal chances. Haaland has 15.8 expected goal chances. Big difference there. Massive difference there. Now, it doesn't matter what striker you have. You could have the greatest striker in the world. Let's just look at Haaland, for example. Haaland will miss chances, right? Haaland will miss chances. Haaland has missed chances. But the difference is you give Haaland that ball 5 times in that area throughout the game, he will probably score 3 goals. The problem with Gyokeres and what we have with Gyokeres is he'll probably only get the ball once in that area. And then if he misses, he misses, but we're not getting him that ball in that area enough. We're not getting him that ball in that area enough. There was a half chance against Wolves, right, where we actually got him in the right area, where the ball come to him on the chest, he spun his defender and had a weak shot across goal, right? But we don't get that guy in that area enough. He's trying to do this link-up play that Marino does and that Havertz does, which essentially tells me that he's trying to adapt his game to how we play, which he definitely should do, right? But we've not tried to adapt the way that we play to make our game suited to playing with a natural striker, right? Who's going to receive the ball in the box. Imagine this, right? Imagine if Arsenal had Lukaku in this team. Would you want Lukaku dropping into midfield and picking up that ball and trying to link up with man? No, you wouldn't, because his first touch is awful, right? And essentially the weakest part of his game is the weakest part of Gyokeres' game. However, if you get Lukaku in the box in the right areas, he'll score you 20 to 25 goals. Gyokeres is very much the same thing. You just have to get him in the right areas, and it's down to the manager and essentially the players to move that ball quicker, and get him in the right spaces and actually give him the ball. The problem that we have at the moment is another problem. We don't move that ball quick enough at all. Against Wolves, we'd get ourselves into situations and then we'd slow it down. Like there was a free kick. I think this was when we was 1-0 up. There was a free kick on the right-hand side. And rather than putting the ball in the box, Declan Rice played a square pass to Odegaard and it ended up all the way back at David Raya. Why? What is the point in doing that? We're always recycling this ball all the time.
Let me understand this, bro. So it seems to me, for you lot, Arteta agenda, you would rather Gyokeres score 20 goals than Arsenal score 20 goals. So you'd rather it be Gyokeres' 20 goals than the whole team pull and get 20 goals. Is that what?
Cool. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing that I'll point to, right, is we know what type of striker Arteta wants. Arteta wants this striker who's going to drop deep, link up play, do all this. You know, that's why he likes Havertz. That's why he likes Marino playing there. That's why essentially he liked Lacazette playing there up front rather than Aubameyang. You know, Aubameyang being a natural goal scorer in front of goal, you would think that he would put him up front, but he didn't. He put him out on the left-hand side because he's not very good at that link-up play, hold-up play sort of thing. Lacazette was a much better player at that.
Emery did the same. Emery did the same.
However,
don't forget that Emery did the same.
Yeah, but Emery also plays a different. It's slightly different with Emery because Emery tends to play 4-4-2 more than a 4-3-3 or a 4-3 or 4-1-2 or whatever it is that we kind of set up in. So Aubameyang ends up in them positions centrally anyway, which is why he won the Golden Boot two seasons running, right? Whereas with Arteta, Aubameyang was predominantly out on the left-hand side and Lacazette was doing the striker's role and linking up play. The problem is, right, is we know Arteta likes that kind of striker. But essentially, when you look at the evidence, right, having that type of striker has won us nothing. It's won us nothing. Last season, I'll give you an example, right? Last season, we wasn't in a title race. And the reason why we wasn't in a title race was because we drew 14 games. However, we still had the best defensive record in the league. So the defence was never a problem. It was the fact that we drew too many games because we wasn't scoring enough goals. Hence why I wanted Gyokeres at Arsenal. Because I'm thinking, okay, if you get that natural striker who can guarantee you goals, then we could turn some of these draws into wins because defence wasn't a problem. It's like with Man City, right? Before a ball is even kicked at the beginning of the season, we all know that Erling Haaland is scoring 25 to 30 goals minimum. We know that for a fact. However, you can look at this Arsenal team and say, right, who's going to be your top goal scorer this season? And all of us can sit here and say, well, we don't actually really know because it might be Saka, it might be Trossard, it might be this player. But then if that player doesn't turn up, or you have a handful of players that don't turn up or don't do the business, then essentially you're screwed. Which is why
that can be said for most teams. If you look outside of Man City and Liverpool, it's either going to be Haaland for City and Salah for Liverpool.
Teams don't win.
And Salah has fallen off. You're right. Salah has fallen off. But the thing is, right, is we've got to look at who we're competing with. Now, we are competing with Man City and Liverpool. And essentially over the last 2 years, Haaland's still doing the business now, but essentially over the last 2 years, they have a player each which guarantees them goals. Arsenal don't have that, right? We don't have a player that guarantees us 20 to 30 goals, which is why essentially we felt the need to bring in a striker who guarantees us goals. And now it's up to the manager to get the best out of that striker. And we're not getting the best out of that striker because we're not set up to get the best out of that striker.
Let me ask you this question.
To make the adjustments.
Let me ask you this question. So in training, they're working on the system, they're working on the game before, and they're going through strategy and stuff. So are you telling me Arteta sits there and Gyokeres sits there and they basically say, well, we're not going to play to your strength. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And basically he sets himself up to fail. Is that what you're telling me happens? Or is it possible that Gyokeres just hasn't fitted in because it's a new league, a new teammate, and most importantly, you're joining a team who has a club who has pressure to deliver this season? So is it possible or inconceivable that that might have got to him, and maybe that's why he's not performing?
What striker has clicked under him?
I think I'll be honest with you. I think all three things that you just said, Stricto, could be true. Yeah, I think they are all elements. I think the biggest element, though, is Arteta didn't want Gyokeres. I can tell you all that now for a fact. Arteta wanted Sesko because Sesko can do that, hold up play, bring people into play, etc., etc. And I guarantee you right now that if we had Sesko in this team, yeah, if we'd had signed Sesko instead of Gyokeres, we'd probably be getting better performances out of Sesko because we're set up to play to Sesko's strengths. We're not set up to play to Gyokeres' strengths. So it is up to the manager to make the adaptations. Yes, you're right, Stricto. It's a new league, it's new teammates, and it takes time to, kind of get into that. But I'm seeing a lot of Arsenal fans that are giving up on Gyokeres already, and I'm like, why?